That's one way of thinking about it. Another way of thinking about it is like, show up in what you want to create, because this is how we're going to save the world, right? Like, we're each going to come forth with our unique gift,
yes.
our spiritual warriorship.
Yes.
And so what is it that you're here to dream? And Saturn says, I've got your back.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you.
It's Heidi, we are back in the saddle.
It's so good to be here.
Oh my God, I am so excited about this. You are, of course, one of my faves.
Aww.
And also, I believe now the record of the guest who's been on the show the most.
Oh my goodness. I will take it.
I know, right? Which I'm so thrilled about because, for listeners, if you don't know, Heidi always comes in and we do the Astro of the coming year, right? Because Heidi's astrology, your wisdom, you grew up, your father, right, was an astrologer.
Yes,
and so it's like you literally, it's in your bones.
Yes.
And so I deeply appreciate the perspective that you bring also, and the very grounded perspective that you bring and practical perspective. And our listeners love it as well. So we didn't do the Astro of the year this year. However, I was like, hang on a second. Let us do a mid-year check-in, because there is a lot of motherfucking, planetary wildness that is occurring, and stuff that hasn't happened for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years and will not happen for hundreds of years again. So first of all, how are you feeling?
In this moment, I'm so happy to be here. I will say I had a bunch of, clients say, where is that podcast that you usually do? It was very sweet. So a lot of my people were searching for it as well. So I'm good. I'm good in this moment. And Deborah has a beautiful home, and we've been having a cup of coffee and catching up, and that just feels so good.
It does. We've been talking about our own personal,
our little Aries
because both of us are Aries, and so you'll learn in a moment. There's a lot going down in that realm, and let's just dive into it, because I think there's I know there is so much going on. I think the way that my lovely brain works, if we can go chronologically, if that's all right.
Sure.
Does that work for you?
Yes.
Because the first big shift did happen at the end of 24 November.
Yes.
So let's talk about that mamma jamma that has been kicking my ass because of my sweet moon. Let's talk about Pluto.
Yes. So that was the first of really 5 major outer planets that are changing position within 1 year. And so that's why this is so deeply significant. And it was in November of last year. It had already dipped in and dipped out and dipped back in. But in November of last year, it entered for good. And it'll spend 20 years there, Pluto and Aquarius. And it is, during Pluto and Capricorn, system, like government, patriarchy, all of that started to break down. The old ways will not stand. And now we're trying to figure out, what does this new world look like? What does this new world with this new technology look like? What does fighting for democracy look like? What does it look like to come together in allyship? What does it come together to support one another in endeavors that are being slashed and burned? We need to be uplifted together, So it's the time. Pluto and Aquarius is like, how in the world are we going to heal together in a non-hierarchical way?
Beautifully said. And what I'm realizing is, I know, we've got people who are always listening to this.
Yes.
But for those of you who are listening, and I'm so glad you're here, and you might not be as familiar with astrology, let's also give a little breakdown of the planets, because I think about Pluto as very much Kali-esque in terms of when we think about pantheons and the goddesses, right?
Yes.
And it's very much like we're going to burn it all down to the ground in order to rebuild in a way that is more effective for the era that we're in, right?
Yeah.
And so how would you describe Pluto?
Yeah, beautifully said. I mean, it's, it is the planet of death and rebirth. It is the planet at the highest, one of healing and one of our collective will. Like, what will we collectively, with strength, bring into being? But you're right. Like, the toxicity has to be removed.
Yes.
It has to get up and out.
Yes.
And Pluto says, like, let's throw it up. Let's get it out of our system. So we're having to get a lot out of our system to build something new at this time. And of course, Aquarius is an air sign, so it has everything to do with how we connect and communicate and all of our technology.
Right.
So yeah, it is.
And the Aquarius energy, right? Like, of the people, for the people.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So it's the we.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a we energy, which it does excite me, honestly, because with all the things that are breaking down it collectively and globally, I mean, we're hearing about it every single day. The sort of glimmer that I'm hanging on to is that, okay, I got it. Like, Pluto's in Aquarius. So this is going to be about the we, ultimately.
It is.
The breaking apart feels and looks and is horrific.
Yes.
And as it can be when things die.
Yes.
So I think that's important for people to remember as well, that it's not just the falling apart.
No. But it is important, though, as you said, like when a planet enters a new sign, it often is a bit shocking, and our systems have to get used to it. Right. And it's not just like kumbaya immediately, but we have 20 years to get to some kumbaya,
exactly.
or 20 years to get to work together in a whole new way. But right now, systems are breaking apart. It's scary. It's very scary.
Yeah.
But we hold the we. And one of the most beautiful things about the next couple of years is there's this minor triangle at work between these outer planets. So they're just like, if you could imagine the planets holding hands working together, and it's with Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. So they're all working together in this extraordinary way, supporting one another.
And we'll get into those planets as well.
Yes.
But I love knowing that nuance as well. Okay, so Pluto's going to be in Aquarius, and it has been. So we've all been already feeling this quite a bit,
yes,
right, since November.
Yes,
and and the thing I think that's interesting is for people who want to know more, like maybe, well, how is this affecting me personally? People can get charts, right?
Yes.
Through your site?
Yes. We have something called a transit snapshot, and it's like a 20-minute recorded audio that's about your own chart. So you get to say, well, where does Pluto fall in my chart? And like in your case, we would say, Deborah, Pluto happens to be sitting on your moon.
Yes.
And that only happens once in a lifetime. Hello. If it happens.
Yes,
if
because it doesn't always happen.
No, because Pluto takes 248 years to orbit.
Yeah.
So
not everybody gets
the
pleasure of this.
But you will be forever transformed. I'm always, Pluto moon is hard. It's hard, but it also is one of the most profoundly healing transits in the end. And it's one of the transits that if you want to change a pattern of behavior, that sometimes we say to ourselves, oh, that'll never change. That'll never change. Pluto moon will make sure it changes.
Yeah. Well, I can even just speak to that. What I know that I've been experiencing, because as we said, it dipped in before and went out, so I've been feeling it already. It's come in, gone back, come back in, gone. Is that I can feel like a restructuring of my heart. Like there's a restructuring of my emotional nature, which to me is related to the how open and how available my heart is. And I'm not going to go in the weeds with it, but one of the gifts that's come out of this is, this, and some of the listeners might know this, but, I moved my mother out here into assisted living. She's got dementia, and I'm her sole caregiver in that sense. And so not in a million years did I ever think I would do something like that, ever. Right? We've had our very challenged mother-daughter stuff.
Yeah.
and been healing that over the years. But over it's been just over 2 years now that she's been in Los Angeles. And wow, what has occurred, during this time? And I can feel more of it happening. And I literally can mark it to some Pluto transit, close to the moon. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
Well, and I would just say, of course, moon is mother. And I would say that when the Pluto cracks open the moon in Aquarius, where it is, it accesses Leo, which is the sign opposite Aquarius, and Leo rules the heart.
Hello.
So basically, you're cracking open to access more and more of that Leo heart.
Yeah.
So it's...
And my South Node is in Leo.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
So, okay. So people can, and also, even if they just want to get their chart, just to know, to know their chart, they can go. And this is all, Heidi's stuff is all linked up in the show notes.
Yeah. And I always just say, if you want a beautiful copy of your chart, you can just write to Heidi at HeidiRose.com and I'll just send it to you.
You're so generous.
I mean, it's like...
yeah. Because I think, the more, look, I've been into and studying in my own way astrology now for over 30 years. And I really, year after year after year, I'm recognizing how important it is to just know your birth chart. Just know your birth chart, because it'll help you understand yourself. And then all these things that you're sharing and we're talking about today, when you have this understanding of what's going on in your birth chart, and you then know what's transiting and moving through that chart, life gets, there's an ease and a grace. Like, it's not necessarily going to be super easy.
Yeah.
But I have discovered and feel that there is more of an ease and grace, because the way, I've said this probably on all our episodes, when you know the astrological forecast, it's like you just know the weather. If there's a shitty rainstorm coming, like there was a massive rainstorm the other day here in LA. I mean, it's June. Like, what the fuck? So strange. And I was out. I didn't have an umbrella. Yeah. Well, that was a drag. Do you know what I mean? But if I had actually looked and seen that there was some weather, then I could have had the umbrella, and it wouldn't have been as uncomfortable.
And it also makes it possible to live your life in a kind of co-creating way, and to meet these archetypes that enter the life and actually have interesting conversations, and to be able to be taught by these archetypal energies, and it's humbling and it's beautiful, and you feel like it's so important to say that this is your free will meets this design. Yes. Your free will meets this design. It's not like this will be done to you.
Yes.
So what do you want to do with your free will?
Yes.
Given these beautiful visiting, archetypes, these visiting planets that offer their gifts.
Oh, I love that. And I know that you do a lot of beautiful work on your retreats with that, so that you can learn how to embody those energies.
Yes.
That's another reason I appreciate you and all the work that you share.
Thank you, Deborah.
Okay, so Pluto, that was the first big mamma jamma that moved.
Yes.
And then what? Our second
was Neptune.
Neptune.
Yeah. And this is very significant. Okay. So Neptune takes 165 years to orbit.
Hello.
So the last time it was in Aries was the Civil War. And in fact, it moved into Aries the day after the Civil War began, which is so fascinating. It doesn't mean we'll have another civil war, but we are sort of in an ideological civil war. But so it has not been in the sign of Aries since then, which is already fascinating. So now we get to discover in this moment, what will Neptune and Aries bring? And of course, for anyone who's in Aries, it means that Neptune has now entered our sign and is saying, I have some things to say. I'd love you to listen. I talk about God. I talk about artistry. I talk about boundarylessness. Neptune is very quiet and subtle, and deeply sensitive, and Aries is not. Aries is bold and brash and,
Bull
you
in
know,
a china shop.
right? So
Yeah.
they're very different energies. But if you think about it, Neptune and Aries together is like a spiritual leader.
Yes.
Right? Or an
Yes.
artistic leader.
Yes.
So I fully expect with Neptune and Aries, like during the Civil War, think about Harriet Tubman. To me, that's like a spiritual leader,
Yes.
right? Lincoln became our president with Neptune and Aries. So we just do sort of like A plus B, and Neptune is the planet of love and the planet of sensitivity, and Aries is the planet of new ideas and being bold. So we have to be bold with our sensitivity. We have to lead with our sensitivity. You know, we can play with the combination like that.
Yes.
But it entered March 30th, and it's going to retrograde this fall in October, but then it will solidly be in Aries from January 26th, 26 on, and it'll stay there for about 14 years. So if you're an Aries, if you have Aries rising, if you're an Aries moon,
Right.
everybody has Aries in their chart somewhere.
Right.
That's the important thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, right, if you do have, like you said, Aries sun, rising, or moon, those three placement, you know, those three areas of anyone's chart, if you have Aries there, it'll affect you a bit more.
Yeah, it's
right?
doubly significant.
Yes.
But it is a time now of dreaming a bit about what wants to next be initiated. And I really do think we are going to have some interesting Aries leaders enter that are more Neptunian. So again, like exquisite sensitivity, exquisite connection to the divine, something, you know. So I'm very curious about it. But, you know, for all of us Aries or people that have strong Aries, the first hit is like, oh my God, who am I? What? I don't even know who I am anymore. Do I even want to start anything? I don't want to start anything. I just want to lie on my couch. I mean, really, it's disorienting. I mean, I'm like a go for it Aries, and I'm like, I think I'll take the summer off. I mean, really,
it's literally like put on your like nap dress.
Yeah, truly.
You know, and lay around and sip tea and eat biscotti like we were just doing.
And I'll do some more. Really, it's fascinating.
I know. It's a very different energy. What I'm excited about in terms of this Neptune and Aries is that the dreamy, the dreaming into
Yes.
a new, the dreaming into a new world, basically. That's the thing that feels very exciting to me about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we are going to, you start to put these together. So Pluto and Aquarius, we have to restructure our whole, perhaps, governments across the globe. We have to, there's so much that needs to be restructured.
Yeah.
And there's so much freedom that needs to be built and acknowledged, and you know, so how are we going to do that? We have to dream a new dream, Neptune and Aries.
Yes.
So
And we have to be bold with dreaming the new dream.
yes,
Right?
yes,
And so here we are.
yes, out of the box problem
with this
solving.
support. Yes.
Yes.
The out of the box problem solving, which also the Aquarius, like, hello, out of the box.
Yes.
That's the way I think about Aquarians. They're like the wild out of the box. And for all of my, you know, sassy, sexy listeners, you know, the kinky ones of the,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
definitely
yes.
the kinky friend in the astrological family.
Yes.
Yeah. And so and I do want to get to this kind of towards the end once we talk about all the other planets that are moving, because it's like, okay, Neptune hasn't been in Aries in 165 years.
Yeah.
But where was Pluto at that time?
Right.
Right. So it's this particular recipe
Yes.
of the planets now that shapes the experience.
Yes.
Right. The individual planet, sure, it brought this, and this, but there were also other factors.
Yes.
And so we'll get around to that, because I think that the full recipe is actually quite exciting. So, okay. So we had Neptune move into Aries the 30th of March.
Yes.
Right. And then, dun, 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 2 months later,
Yes.
here we have good old Saturn.
Yes, Saturn in Aries. Saturn entered Aries May 24th. It was last there 29 years ago. And it's so interesting because here we are talking about dreaming a new dream and, imagination and spiritual warriors. And Saturn comes in and it's like, make it real, make it tangible. Or says, oh, you want to dream a new dream? I'm going to help you make it real. I'm going to help you make it tangible. Now, early on, could it feel like, oh, I have a dream and Saturn squashes it? Yes, it can feel that way too. But suddenly, wherever Aries is in your chart, you're getting very serious about the new dream.
Yes.
And you are maturing in whatever area Saturn is in your chart. And you are acting on that maturation. So Saturn doesn't love to be in Aries because Aries wants to, go, and Saturn wants to restrict initially, right? But basically what Saturn and Aries wants us to do is begin wisely.
I love that.
To choose what you begin. To slow down before you begin so that you don't begin something that you're like 6 months later, oh my God, what have I done? I just did the same thing I did, before. So this idea of the mature initiation of the next chapter.
Yeah. And also the thing that I was reminded about, of course, Saturn and Aries, anyone whose natal Saturn is in Aries, right? You're having your Saturn return.
Yes.
And I was mentioning actually my dear friend who I'll see it this summer. They've got their Saturn in Aries. And so when I was looking at their chart and I mentioned this, they're like, oh, this makes so much sense. It's their second Saturn return. Second Saturn return. Yep. But so if you're in this happens 27 to 29 and
like around 29 is the first one, and then the second one is usually right around 58 to 60. Sometimes it's a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But and that would have been in traditional astrology, the second Saturn return is like, well, you've done well. You can retire now. You're at the top of your field, which is not the case in our world now, right?
At all.
It's like we're just getting started. And I feel like I just had two friends that were working with one another in a healing capacity. And one of them was having her second Saturn return and the other one was having her third Saturn return.
Wow.
And I began to think about it and I thought, we're so quick to say the crone is connected to our second Saturn return, but I don't think it is. I think the queen is connected to our second Saturn return, and I think the crone is connected to our third Saturn return, which is right around 87 to 90.
Oh my God. What was this? So what was this woman with her third?
Just in her full gloriousness, like just completely embodying the energy of not a shred of doubt about her presence affecting any room she enters.
I love that.
And then also like it's time. Anything that's left that has not been attended to, like, oh, it's time to attend.
Right. Like if you do get to live that long and you do get to go through your third Saturn return. Yeah. Like, okay, let's attend and, free ourselves as much as possible.
Yes.
Before we saunter off into the next place.
Yes.
Okay, so Saturn's going to be in Aries for
2.5 years. Yeah. And the what you should be aware of is there's a moment in February where they conjunct exactly, which means they sit in the exact same degree.
Well, Saturn and Neptune.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct in the exact same degree, 0 degrees Aries, which is a very potent point. It's like the Fool in tarot. It's like, let's do it. It jumps forward, So anyway, that conjunction in February, that'll be February 20th. That's a very heightened time for all of us.
And what would be good for us to do around that time?
If you know what area it's in your chart, which you can find out, you really, first you allow yourself to dream. And then you say, and it's possible. Let's do it. Let's make it manifest. I mean, it's as simple as that and as complex as that.
Okay.
And our worldwide, perhaps we will be in the process of building something new. I really do feel like by even the end of this year, but certainly by a year from now, everything looks radically different. I do feel like all of these planetary shifts, they're the old world. This is a new era.
Well, it's so interesting because, of course, now I'm thinking again of this sort of celestial recipe. And so we've got that Cazimi, or no, it's not Cazimi, Saturn and Neptune conjunct at 0 degrees.
Yes.
For a moment, can you talk about, you said it's like the Fool, but 0 degrees of anything.
It's the Aries point. It's considered the Aries point.
Of all the
yeah,
signs.
Which is it's
So
like that
whatever
first 0
degrees.
degrees. It's like it's a very potent point.
Right. It's like the most of whatever that.
Yeah. It's got a spirit of bravery and boldness to it. And another interesting thing about the shift of these planets is we're moving from, for the most part, not Jupiter, which we'll get to, but for the most part, we're moving out of earth and water and we're moving into fire and air.
Yeah.
You can just feel that earth and
Yes.
water are these deeply receptive, sensitive, energies, and fire and air is just like go, 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 go. So this is a change that's occurring rapidly as of this year.
Wow. Well, so Saturn and Neptune 0 degrees. This is February 20th.
Yeah.
And that, in my mind, I just went, wait a minute, that's also the beginning of Aquarius season.
Oh yeah, good point. Yes.
I mean, the sun goes into Aquarius at
Yes,
that time.
yes.
And where the hell's Pluto? Pluto,
At that point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be still early Aquarius. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. That's...
There's a lot
Wow.
of moments like this. If you go as an astrologer, you start to zoom the chart forward and you're like, oh my gosh, there are a lot of these heightened moments.
Okay. And so you're saying really look into at that, February 20th, 2026, really look into what it is you're dreaming, dream the dream and then take some action.
Yes.
It.
And it's like we could also say any illusions or delusions are also brought to light and ended. That's one way of thinking about it. Another way of thinking about it is show up in what you want to create, because this is how we're going to save the world, right? We're each going to come forth with our unique gift,
Yes.
our spiritual warriorship.
Yes.
And so what is it that you're here to dream? And Saturn says, I've got your back.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you.
It's so great. And because I love that you just said that and brought that up as well. Because one of the things that I think about a lot for people who aren't, let's say, the people who are here to be the big, activists in terms of out marching and doing things that way. I really do believe that one of the most radical things that we can do, particularly at this time in our collective, is to live your highest frequency, to live the most potent version of yourself, and to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Literally to enjoy your life and tend to your frequency.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yes.
That's, I think, really, if everybody did that, because there are people who, of course, it's your mission and your calling in this lifetime is to be a, out there activist. There are others, who your mission is to raise the children and, take care of the home. Also phenomenal. But if everybody could do that, connected to their highest frequency and really be in their bodies, well, then we all win.
Yes.
Then we all win.
Yes. Yeah. Beautifully said.
Okay. Wow. So I'm loving this. I'm just thinking, anyhow. Okay.
Yes.
So it's that Saturn in Aries. Now, what's happening? We are recording this just days before. I'm doing my best to get this dropped on this particular day.
Beautiful.
So, we'll see. Jupiter.
Yes.
Our gift bearing, just juicy, big, let's go all out. Let's just, have everything that we desire planet.
Jupiter moves into Cancer June 9th, and it will not retrograde. So now, once it's in Cancer, it stays there for the whole year.
Hallelujah.
And Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. It is exalted in Cancer. It's not as comfortable in Gemini, where it's been for the last year. I mean, there are many beautiful things about it, but it's not it's not at home there.
Right.
Jupiter in Cancer is all about home and homecoming. And guess what? The United States was born under Cancer.
Yeah.
So this is also gives me a little bit of solace, just thinking, okay, we have a year of a kind of Jupiterian protection, at least around the United States. I mean, maybe some growth.
Yeah.
But it is a time when we come home to ourselves, we tend to our families, we tend to our chosen families, we tend to our businesses. Cancer is all about the businesses that we start growing organically. We generally feel better because Cancer has a connection with the feeling body, and Jupiter grows that light. So I'm feeling very positive about this because we've had a ton of Gemini energy, which can be difficult for our nervous systems.
Yes.
And Cancer's like, shh, come home,
Yes.
curl in. I'm going to make you some soup. You know,
Yes.
here's some homemade bread.
Yes. Instead of like the Gemini, which we love our Geminis, but it can be a lot.
Yes, yes. And so this is just days away, and I think we'll all feel that change. I really do.
Yeah.
I've been talking to lots of clients. It's just so interesting to hear them being like, and we're having a family reunion, and we'll all be at the lake, and we'll, you know, it's like all these family gatherings of one kind or another
Yes.
that I'm certain will actually be quite held.
I find that so interesting because even before something, you know, has moved or shifted in a sign, there is like a preamble, right? You're getting like the preview somehow. And I feel like we get it. I mean, again, whether it's esoterically or just on some level of our consciousness. And so, yes, like people who might not even know anything about astrology are planning that's family reunions when there hasn't been one,
Yes.
right, for years.
Yes.
But it's like there is this spark that is now getting ignited within the collective.
And if you think about transits, like you could imagine I'm sitting here in this chair and I'm looking at the horizon, and as Jupiter is getting closer to moving into Cancer, I'm still seeing and feeling Jupiter approach, right? So there's an energy that gathers and grows as that planet is moving towards the sign. So you are anticipating it, you know?
Yes.
And then there's the moment that it enters and hangs out, and then it starts to walk away, as it were, you know,
Right.
which is a waning energy, which doesn't have the same kind of potency. The approach is almost the most powerful of all, which is intriguing.
Oh, I like that perspective. Yeah. I'm very excited about this.
Well, your chart is lit up all over with, you know, Cancer rising.
I don't know. I
and,
might just self-combust everybody. Like, if this is the last time you hear from me, who knows?
I love it when like, this would be the moment if you had never practiced astrology, or, you know, this would be the moment you'd show up at an astrologer and be like, what is going on?
Exactly. Well, okay. Yeah. Jupiter in Cancer. And I, like you said, I just, right now in where we are collectively, the yumminess of it, I feel like could not come at a better time.
Yeah.
And that it's so happy there. And it's going to be happy for everybody, you know, for this whole year. I just feel like if you've ever wanted to do the thing, whatever the thing is, that this year with Jupiter and Cancer is like, go and experience the thing with as much self-love and self-compassion, you know, as possible. And just, you've got Jupiter going, okay, baby, go. Like, you know, I'm cheering you on over here.
Yes. And it's so important to hold that perspective, because it is also important to say that Jupiter magnifies whatever it touches. And
Right.
so it's going to magnify all these things that we've been saying, but it's also going to magnify the less evolved Cancer, which is a kind of defensiveness or overprotection, or this is my tribe and that's your tribe. So we also have to be careful about emotional reactivity being amplified. I mean, right now I'm weirdly thinking of Elon Musk, who is Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising.
He is?
Yes, isn't that
No,
the
he's
weirdest
not.
thing? I know.
What's his moon?
Virgo. But I can't remember the degrees. I know.
Sorry, I am shooketh right now. That makes no sense to me.
Well, you have to look at all the different levels of evolution, and you have to look at, like, he's certainly done the Cancerian thing of building businesses and such, but it makes me wonder, like, what's happening right now? Like, there's going to be some magnification of the reactivity to what's been going on. I don't know. I'm going to be watching over the next couple of months, and something's already happening in that realm that
Is
isn't
Mars in Aquarius or something? I'm like, what?
right now.
No, his. I'm just fascinated now about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll show you his chart.
believe-
It's.
I cannot believe he's a Cancer and Cancer rising.
I know, it was one of my favorite things to do in class. I brought it into my mentorship program, and I was like, and I put mystery person, and they're like, oh, the most loving, the most sensitive, and I'm like, It's so important, because it's the energy. You have to look at the person whose chart it is, and you have to look at what they value, and you have to look at their level of consciousness.
Well, and so this is interesting. That's coming up also because, and I love that you brought up like the shadow side of Cancer, right? There's the light and the shadow to all of it.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you're, again, Cancer rising, that you're going to just be the light of the Cancer, right? So there is that shadow. And that, in my opinion, right, that's also where our free will and of course our consciousness comes in, and how evolved we allow ourselves to become. Right.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful, if we come, I mean, we all come in with, we all have the shadow side, but are we willing to engage it? Are we willing to see it clearly? Are we willing to work with it? Are we willing to let the fear turn to power? So we have to see it clearly.
Yes.
Or we're trapped by it.
Yes.
And one of the things about the Cancerian energy is that it can really shut every door and window and say, go away. Right. And
I'm very familiar with that.
And that can be magnified.
Yes.
So, and we can do that as a country.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting now that I'm thinking about it, like Trump just closed off 20 countries.
Yes.
It's like we can say, no, this is my country. And this is, so obviously everyone's a mixture of these things, but we have to keep our eye on the highest expression, and we have to keep our heart engaged with the highest expression.
Yes, exactly. Elevating the frequency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Jupiter's going into Cancer.
Yes.
And it might be in Cancer by the time you hear this.
Yes.
And then we have the other big old outer planet.
Yeah,
the one that we, my inner 6-year-old little boy. I love bathroom humor. So yes, this planet always cracks me up.
Uranus.
Yes, Uranus. I mean, I'm such a child when it comes to certain things, but yes, Uranus.
It's so funny because I always say, there's so many Uranus. Anyway,
I have to say Uranus, otherwise I'm on the floor laughing.
I do too.
Hard. I mean, it's really.
So Uranus is moving into Gemini, yes. And this is another planet that takes 84 years to go around the chart.
Hello.
So think about this. What are 2 cycles of 84 years? 168 years, which is similar to the Neptune cycle. So Uranus was in Gemini also during the Civil War, and it was also in Gemini at the beginning of World War II. So again, I'm not doing doom and gloom, but I'm saying, isn't this interesting? You just have to look back in history and say, oh, okay, so in the Civil War, Neptune was in Aries, Uranus was in Gemini. We have that again. How are we going to use these energies differently? How are we going to evolve these energies? Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah. And Uranus please.
Well, and Uranus, I affectionately describe Uranus as the bitch slap planet, right? Meaning that it's this sudden.
Yes.
Really don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Change.
Yeah.
I guess maybe in hindsight you might have seen, oh, okay. But not really. It's like, whoa, where did that come from?
And what did we just experience with that? AI. We already, remember, like, in a way, AI, we're like, oh yeah, AI. And then suddenly it's AI. And I mean, the world is AI.
Yes.
And that is a Uranus in Gemini piece, is like the speed of the connectivity, the speed at which we can download information. I mean, this is going to be a transit of everything is speeding up even more.
Right. Like this is the future. I mean, it's not even the future. It is now.
Yeah.
And the foreseeable future for nearly 85, I mean, nearly a century.
Yeah. It's going to, yes. And it'll spend 7 to 8 years in Gemini. And, the sign Gemini is all about communication, and Uranus is all about waking us up and distributing and getting the word out. And so there's just so much movement in this combo. Uranus has been in Taurus, which it doesn't like to be in because Taurus doesn't move.
Yes.
Uranus wants to move.
Right. Well,
so
now it's going to move.
It's
got that freedom to move with the air of Gemini.
Yeah. It's like somebody who was just saying this. It was something about, like, if you want to see the Jetsons in action, it's Uranus and Gemini, like the flying cars and,
So, okay, so let's take a pause here for this moment because, so these are, I mean, we were just talking about Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus.
Yeah.
When was the last time within 12 months and I'm putting you on the spot here, that all of these moved, and
it's been, this is highly unusual.
This is unprecedented.
This is unprecedented.
Okay.
Like you have to go back a long ways to have, because think about it, from November until July, this is when these 5 planets all shifted. That's less than a year.
It really is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's just pause for a second, because I would love for you to, and this is also me putting you on the spot, but I know you can handle it. The recipe of these 5, right? And if you were going to say, okay, the recipe of these 5, and this is the meal it's going to serve out, right? Because it is this collective of these 5 planets, but in these particular signs that are creating a particular collective experience.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that every astrologer across the globe is in a moment of collecting data and just being like, because you really, with these outer planets, you sort of have to say, how is this going to unfold? We have some guesses,
because we haven't seen this,
but we haven't seen this particular combo. But I would just say, because most of these planets are in fire and air, we are sparking new ideas. We are sparking individuated action in a whole new way. We are no longer giving it up to God in a way. We are, we're not giving our power away. We're taking our power and we're choosing the communities with which we are working.
Yes.
And if ever there was a moment in the last 100 years of forging a new way forward that's going to look very different than what we've lived up till now, it is this moment. It is this year.
Wow.
I know that's, again, sort of more generalized, but it's like we're becoming spiritual warriors. We're maturing in the choices we make. We are figuring out what groups we want to be a part of and what causes we support.
Yeah.
We are protecting the people that are most, at risk right now. And there are a lot of people. We're, figuring out who we're here to protect. That's the great mama energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel, and I appreciate all of that. And I feel like, for those of you listening, like this is the moment, right, to step into yourself. And I'm going to go back to, to elevate your frequency, to be on that higher frequency, to elevate your consciousness, and to get in your body.
Yeah.
I heard something and I was like, wow, this is so smart, because obviously all this talk about AI, and sure, AI is here. It's not going anywhere. And again, who knows how far and wide, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But the one thing that AI cannot do is help you to become embodied.
Yes, exactly.
And the embodiment piece is, you and I know this because we have spent our lives, dedicated to this and supporting others in that. But the embodiment piece is, I think, the most critical now because of the swiftness and the fire and the fuel that all of this energy is bringing, and all of AI, which is could help our minds. But we have to remember that it is not going to do anything for getting us in our bodies. So we can be as grounded and, with as much forza, with as much, like fortitude that is necessary for these times.
Yes. Beautifully said. Yeah. So important, because probably the best spiritual advice anybody could give right now is something, because of the speed of things, is like slow down and be in your body.
Yes.
Moment to moment to moment to moment.
Yes, exactly. So grateful, for all the work.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the big mamma jammas, as we discussed, which I feel like I need.
And in a way, just to say, the first half of the year has been the most intense from January to July, and then the second half of the year won't be quite at this level of intensity. It's almost like we get a chance to catch our breath.
And we still have the second part of eclipse season coming.
Yes, well, yes.
So why don't we just talk about eclipses? Because I gotta say, sometimes they, I feel the effects of them ish, But man, when I feel the effects, when,
Yeah.
you know, I have had major stuff happen on certain eclipses in my life that I could like tell you to a T. Oh no, that was the day that, you know.
Yeah. And
Big stuff.
you had some big stuff happen at the end of March. March 29th was a 9-degree Aries solar eclipse. So the Aries
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this
Oh,
year.
yeah. Right. Because last year. Yeah.
But so we had I really felt the March eclipses. The first one was in Virgo and the second one was in Aries. But now we have 2 more in September. And September 7th is a lunar eclipse and it's at 15 Pisces.
Right. Because we've switched now.
Yes.
So we were on the Aries Libra axis.
Yes.
And now.
Yes. We had the final Aries eclipse March 29th. And now we're on the Virgo Pisces, but even next year we're going to dip into the Leo Aquarius too. So it's interesting. But so we have a 15 Pisces lunar eclipse, and then just 2 weeks later we have a 29 Virgo solar eclipse. So, you know, you have to look at those charts exactly to give more about the texture of that moment. But we're now on the healing axis. Virgo and Pisces is about the healing axis and public health and personal health and our spiritual practices. But eclipse season just simply is an accelerated change. Yeah. And people come and people go. I mean, like relationships end, relationships begin, people die, people are, it's like there's something that accelerates change.
Yeah.
In particularly that window.
And it's so, when, you know, you look back in terms of, you know, just thousands of years ago, right? And this, eclipses, why are they such a big deal? But it was really, you know, the humans that were on the planet at that time, it was when you would have a total solar eclipse, it was literally like the world was falling apart.
Yeah.
Right. Because nobody knew what that was.
Right.
And, but the energy of it is, some people have, you know, said, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, to not like do spiritual practices or do ritual during eclipses. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, the way that I work with, I work with the full and the new moon, which is always accompanying the eclipse. And I think I lean in the direction of thinking about the full and new moon as opposed to eclipse season. And I would still tend to the new moon energy of quietly planting, seeding. And I would still tend to the full moon as the spiritual high point of that energy. But I tend to lean in the direction of just quietly ground and rest.
Yeah, like let's not get too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I really find that to be the healthiest approach because otherwise you're fighting against.
And I like that you said in terms of eclipse season, right? Of course, they're happening in the opposing signs of, you know, and that's the way it goes. So we've got in terms of Pisces and Virgo. And so whenever we have eclipse season, we're looking at the energies of those two, right? And how the flavor, right? And you were saying the collective in terms of health, personal, and
But at the beginning of the year, it was interesting because the first eclipse was a Virgo eclipse and the second eclipse was an Aries, and they're not opposite each other. So it's not always the case. But in this second set of eclipses, they will be opposite. And you do think of the polarity. And again, what's interesting about the Virgo Pisces polarity is it's the dreamer and the pragmatist.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So it's just like we were saying with Neptune and Saturn.
So it's echoing that.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. So it's like we have a punctuation of that, you know, energetic makeup.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, if you have a planet, like if I have Mercury very close to 15-degree Pisces, so I'm going to say, that eclipse is igniting my Mercury for the next significant chunk of time.
Yes.
So I have to think about that planet as being activated by the eclipse.
Yes. And also, why is it that you know, you hear a lot also that eclipses, you know, the energy lasts for 19 years or
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, it's it's because of the nodes. It's a more technical answer, but the nodes, the North Node and South Node, take 19 years to complete their cycle.
Okay.
And so eclipses are connected to the nodes.
Okay.
And,
Okay. Because there's always like, here's when it starts, and then it takes its whole cycle, and there's sort of like the echo again. If you
Yes,
will.
9 years later, you have the nodes shifted, but they're in the same signs. And then 19 years later, they're back where they were. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, it's
thank you for. I know. I can get geeky about.
Yeah.
This,
No, it's good.
And I was curious because I'm always like, wait, what? 19 years? Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It's the node cycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening eclipse wise. Everybody always wants to know about Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Right. Which happens every year. Everybody 3 times a year. Right. So.
Well, what's good. I write about the moon every day. Like, where's the moon, and what.
Yes.
But I do that because it happens frequently. The changes happen every 2.5 days. So I think what's happening with Mercury retrograde is people are being educated around retrograde, and they're being educated like when these outer planets go retrograde, now they can start to think about that in a new way, because a lot of the world now knows about Mercury retrograde, right?
Which is amazing,
more, which
by
is
the
interesting.
way.
We're more in tune with that.
And P.S. just a pause. Yeah, if you don't know about Heidi's moon notes, please get on the program. I mean, that's that'll be linked up. But that's it's through your Substack.
I do Substack and Instagram. It's nice.
I love reading my moon note every day. I know I like mine, but it says the true Aries.
It's so funny. Then I love the moon notes too, and I've been doing them almost 8 years, and I do them every day. And it probably will. It started so simply and organically. It was like a good idea that I took action on and just didn't stop. And it's kind of got an effortlessness to it.
It's so beautiful.
It just reminds me to not push in other areas that are like not wanting to ignite. Like when it's right, it's right.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, and I love that, and it's also your devotion to it. It's to me, it feels like your devotional offering.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you have chosen to do that. And I'd be curious, and this will probably be after we're done here, but of like the astrology of when that started for you. I don't know if you know or can look back to anything. If there was some significance.
Yes, there was. I started the podcast and the moon notes when Uranus hit Venus. Hit Venus in my chart and the midheaven.
Wow.
Yeah.
So talk about again that love, that dedication, and also to the work that you share in the world.
Yeah.
Oh well, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, just a little Astro cocktail that has had far-reaching effects. But hold on a second. So is Uranus then is this going to kind of be the end of that cycle?
Well, Uranus is leaving. Yes, it's leaving Taurus. So I mean, it'll retrograde back into Taurus a tiny bit, but it'll be completing that cycle.
I wonder what.
I know.
Wonder what will happen. What will Heidi do? That's exciting. Okay,
but the Mercury retrograde. You want to?
I was going to say Mercury retrograde, but also I just want to say, like, everybody see these things. I mean, I just love how we could trace that back in terms of this significant transit for you and how that has manifested in this giant body of work, by the way. I mean, 8 years every day of a moon note, which has become books also. I mean, you've published, it has opened up in my perspective over here, so many doors and so many things for your career and what you've done. Yeah. Yes? Or...
Yeah. And, yes. And I'm, it is my spiritual practice. I show up for it every day. Sometimes it takes me 10 minutes and sometimes it takes me 2 hours, if I'm wrestling with it. But there's something that my little moon in Capricorn just shows up for. And it's built a community, and it's my version of a love letter. And
yes.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyhow, really interesting. Okay. So thank you. We're now going back to Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah. We had one Mercury retrograde, March and April. March 14th to April 7th. But the next one will be this summer, July 17th to August 11th. And what's interesting about that is it'll go retrograde right after Uranus moves into Gemini. So that's intriguing. That could be a little bumpy, right? Because Uranus and Gemini wants to be like, yeah, we're speeding it all up, all the communications. And then Mercury, which rules Gemini, goes retrograde. So we'll see what happens there. And then the third Mercury retrograde is right at the end of the year, November 9th until November 29th.
Oh, good. So Thanksgiving time, everybody.
Travel won't be a problem. Don't worry.
No worries. No family squabbles.
And those dates are not including the shadow periods. Those are including the exact moment it goes retrograde and direct. But there's also like a couple weeks before and a couple weeks after that you're still in the vibe of Mercury retrograde.
Right, because it's like this approach that you were talking about, like when you're looking at the horizon.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then, now is then... Yeah, after the fact, where we're watching it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I tend to feel it, in the shadows.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's something.
And don't be tremendously concerned about it. Just if you can, try to use the time in a more reflective way than, a launching way, but you can even launch depending on what it is.
Because it's all the re's, like redo, review, revise, reorganize.
Yes.
I mean, edit. There's all of those wonderful things that it's ripe for.
Exactly.
So yeah, because I think it's important to take this like hysteria that people can get into of, the Mercury retrograde. Like, yeah, do you want to sign a contract? Probably not, you know, but if you need to, then, I don't know, read it 3 times.
But this is this is the free will meeting the design. This is like, my wise, careful self is now realizing Mercury's retrograde. So I'm going to have 2 people read this contract and I'm going to, whatever. And then I'll sign it and it's okay. We don't have to freak out about it. Like I'm doomed. No,
Right. Right. Exactly. Okay. Now, I'm just thinking, is there anything that we haven't covered? I mean, there's so much going on astro-wise. We've talked about Mercury retrograde, all the big planets that are moving or have already moved. And are there any other sort of like highlight or pinnacle days? I know you mentioned, February 2021 of 26. But isn't there something, what is going on January 6th of 2026?
I wish I could pull that out for you right now.
Sorry,
but
yeah. Okay. I feel like there was something.
It might be, there's a direct, Neptune moves solidly into Aries as of January 26th, but.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're new to astrology and just starting to work with the energies, obviously pay attention to every ingress of the sun into a new sign. Do you know, even of Venus? Venus is a lovely planet to watch in terms of it moving into a new sign. Like today we're recording and later today it moves into Taurus. Which it loves to be in Taurus.
Happy.
Yeah. And it'll hang out there for several weeks. And so this is a great way to learn astrology, is just to observe the shift of the planets into the new signs. Now, this is what makes this moment extraordinary. These outer planets don't change signs very often. So
and Venus moves every kind of 4, 5, 6 weeks?
It takes 225 days to orbit. So, it's, about a month. Yeah, about that. And sometimes it's faster through certain signs, but it's
225
days. Did I say?
Days.
To orbit. Yeah. So it's less than a year to go all the way around the
the entire zodiac, not per sign.
No.
Okay,
yeah. Okay. So you break it down and it's about 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, because those are the Venus, Mars, obviously the moon, and of course the sun, those are our faster, the planets that are, yes. And Mercury.
Yes. Mercury takes 88 days. That's good to have in your head as you learn astrology. Like what are the orbits of the planets? And then you get a sense of timing and rhythms and all of that. Yes.
Heidi, what are you most excited about with this?
I think it's easy as we get older, to there's an inner voice that can start to feel like, well, that will never change in me, or, well, this is just who I am. I was sort of referring to that a little bit earlier, or I've worked on this for a long time and I've shifted it somewhat, but you know what? I'm just going to have to be happy with it. I, for the first time in a long time, I would just say, I feel very hopeful about significant shifts. Like I do feel like I can change myself in my primary relationships, or I'm evolving and I can feel the difference.
Yes.
And these planetary changes are like incredible support. They're like having your best, mentors all around you, whispering to you and sometimes being hard ass and sometimes being just like gloriously supportive. And I'm so excited about who I'm becoming. I'm excited about what's possible.
Yeah.
And I think we all should feel that way.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And thank you for reinforcing that, because, a lot of people are not feeling that.
I know.
And so I love the invitation for that. And I love the reinforcement of that.
Yeah. And I would just say, on any given day, I could be like, the world, oh my God, I'm so depressed. The world is crumbling. But if we just look at our individual selves and, as you said, like raise the frequency, appreciate, love, learn to love ourselves, learn to make better choices, then we are affecting the energy on the planet.
Yes.
And that's how not to despair.
Yes. Because we are a tuning fork.
Yeah.
So that has a frequency that goes out.
Yeah.
And of course that, that frequency shifts even within an hour.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
However, if we can get a new set point that is a higher, in a higher octave, if you will, then even when it fluctuates, it's not going to go as low as it could, or it was, or it has. And again, I also appreciate you were like, hey, we embrace the shadow. It's not about
100%.
pushing the shadow away.
No.
Because there's a lot of yummy in the shadow.
There's a lot of yummy in the shadow.
Yummy in the shadow.
Yeah. I do you know Kasia Urbaniak? Have you ever? Yes. So one of the things, I was just revisiting one of the things she wrote about fear, and she talks about the freeze, and she's like, so we so often like say, oh, the freeze, we're just like shrinking and we can't move. And she's like, this is one of the most exciting moments because it's when we recognize that our life is about to change and that we are letting the fear shift into power, and we're just taking a moment before, and I love that idea of convert the shadow turning to the power.
Absolutely. And that, you just reminded me also of whenever the quantum leap, the transformation, the breakthrough is happening, the first thing that happens is a breakdown.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I know that, and yet I always love being reminded of that, because when you're in the breakdown, it feels shitty. Yeah. Or it can feel really shitty. Yeah. So my practice with the multiple breakdowns,
yes, you're not alone.
That I've been experiencing for sure over the last, months, but year. It's like, let's just make out with the breakdown.
Yes.
Let's just get in there and get all, and just like get cozy and get in it and make out with it.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's that age-old, what you resist persists.
Yes.
So we're all going to go through the breakdown, and to remember that moment, like you said, like that freeze is the thing. It's the indication that the change is about to happen.
Yeah. You're at the edge of the forest. You're about to enter.
So good. Yeah. And it can be really scary.
Yeah.
Right? Because especially if you're not exactly sure, because we're never exactly sure where we're going. Yeah. But we certainly, now that we have Jupiter in Cancer, it's going to feel really good.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my gosh. Me too. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to ask you, because it's been a minute since we've sat in the chair together. The signature questions.
Okay.
So just where you're at right now, right? What of all the things, what's one thing that is tuning you into spirit?
I will say, I'm going to say 2 books that changed me this year. All Fours, and one book, All Fours, and the show Dying for Sex. Both of these feel
incredible.
Like healing transmissions.
100%.
And I feel like I can't remember the question, but I feel
what tunes you into your spirit. Yeah.
Actually, before I've said poetry, but what tunes me into my spirit now is like my breath, my body, receptivity, letting myself let go, letting myself be touched, letting myself like be messy, that actually tunes me into spirit.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love also the letting yourself be messy.
Yeah.
And I feel like we could do a whole episode on dying for sex. Anyway,
Oh my
that's a
God.
whole, I mean,
Yeah.
that was total transmission. Anyway, if those of you, if you have not seen it, please, please watch it.
And you have, Michelle Williams, double Virgo and Aquarius, and she has tons of Virgo and tons of Aquarius. I mean, I love the astrology, and now why am I forgetting her name? But her best friend, Aries.
Jenny.
Jenny
Slate,
Slate, who I love. Aries.
Oh, really?
Aries.
Oh, that interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then of all the things these days, what's one thing that's turning you on?
Writing kind of gritty, sexy poetry.
Ooh. Are we sharing this?
I don't have
world?
it with me, but I will be sharing. Yes.
Oh, good. Please, don't.
I mean, it's my version of
us.
it's my version of sexy, but no, just letting it be a little more raw and a little more truth telling, and when I can dare myself to name the bodily experience, like that's freedom. And
I love that. That already is like turning me on,
Yes.
So I appreciate, I cannot wait to read, hear, see. Yes. Cause I love any Eros filled.
Yes.
Anything.
Yes. You embody it.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, Heidi. Thank you so much for now being the most, return guest on the Real Undressed. And also thank you for your commitment to your path and to your teachings and for sharing it all with us. I mean, my God, the commitment to, of course, the moon notes, every day, and just being the woman who is like, yes, I am on this path of evolution. I am going to go through, the messy and the beautiful and the whole spectrum, and sharing it with us so we can all glean from you and also be better for it, because you are here doing it.
Thank you, love.
Yeah,
Back
so
at
thank
you.
you.
Back at you.
Thank you. And for all the listeners, by the way, I'm so happy to be with you as always. And check out all the show notes. There's all the links and all the things. And if there's anything we can do for you, just give us a shout out. But you know it. This is simply bye for now.